Hello, I'm Doug, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are picking up right where we left off last week, chatting with Gatoh Pro Wrestling's own Baliyan Akki to talk about Japanese pro wrestling. In part 1, Akki walked us through his wrestling journey and how it brought him to Japan. But in part 2, we are shifting focus to his career in Japan. Throughout the conversation, not only do we learn a lot about wrestling culture in Japan, Akki shares how he fatefully got connected to Gatoh.
I came here, I talked to Master Takanashi, he called me to a practice, and by luck, the first practice he calls me to is Ami Sakura teaching a class in Gatoh.
How ChocoPro shined bright during a time when the pandemic had the world looking bleak.
Japan shut down on 23rd, I think. The first show that got cancelled for us was 25th. That's the last show we did. And then it's like, oh, it's locked down now. And in 3 days, we were debuting ChocoPro. In just 3 days. The whole thing happened in 3 days.
And a reflection on his career in Japan thus far.
I think that match is a momentous match for me because that match woke everybody up to me, to who Baliyan Akki is.
If you're looking for fantastic insight into Japanese pro wrestling, then this episode is just for you. Especially if you're looking for a deep look into the indie wrestling scene, specifically Gatoh Pro Wrestling. There's the bell. Here's round 2. Sit back and enjoy.
Akki, I remember you specifically saying in the interview that, you didn't really have any idea of what pro wrestling was besides WWE.
Yeah.
And, to us over here, a lot of foreigners, when we think of pro wrestling in Japan, we think of New Japan probably as the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's like the equivalent of WWE to us is the New Japan.
Yes. They represent.
But, there's a great number of small indie promotions, like you were saying, and that you're got introduced into. So, how did you know what was the right fit for you? And, is this like, you're always saying, I'm trying to get better. What's the next step?
As for what was great for me, I just knew it. I came to Japan. I was very lucky. When I was traveling to Japan, I had a soap stop in Singapore. I had a show in Singapore. And Master Takanashi from DDT and ChocoPro now was wrestling on that show. Just by random luck. Oh, by the way, I should tell this to you because I said the theme of this show is stupidity. When I decided to come to Japan, I had no connections. So I don't know. And like 2 years prior, I knew somebody who was inviting me. When I did show up to Japan, nobody's inviting me. So I know not a single person in the industry of Japan in wrestling. I don't speak the language. I can't even convey what I want. And I'm fully fledged committed, leaving everything I have behind to move to Japan and to be a wrestler. What do I have as a plan to be a wrestler? Nothing. I'll just go there,
just figure it out as you go,
make something work.
Yeah.
I will make something work. I don't know how, and I don't know when, and I don't know which way, but I will make it happen. I don't know how, but that doesn't even because the kind of life I've lived at that point, that was not a crazy idea to me. That genuinely wasn't. I'm like, this is the best. I can go there now. Something will happen. The best thing is I can go. And while I'm going there, because I'm wrestling in other Asian countries at that point, I'm wrestling in Thailand, and then I'm just doing the places I can go, I'm going. So that's my first time wrestling in Singapore, and I'm wrestling one of their main guys, Ivan, and he's a crazy dude. He's a legit crazy dude. So it was a crazy match. But I go and I wrestled there, and Master Takanashi was in the main event. He was wrestling for the championship of SPW, and he sees me and he goes, wow. And we talk. And by luck, he had a friend with him who can kind of speak English. So we are communicating through him. And he goes, oh, and I go, I'm traveling to Japan from here in 1 week. And he goes, really? Oh, okay. But because he traveled to Asia so much, he used to travel to Thailand a lot. People say to him always that we're going to come to Japan. That's what wrestlers do. I want to come to Japan. There's not too much difference between saying, I want to go to Japan and maybe I will go to Japan or I will go to Japan. It all sounds the same to him. But I go, I'm coming to Japan. And he goes, okay, give me a message. just random, just pure luck. I just met him before I showed up to Japan. I just met him randomly there, and he goes, "I just shoot me a message." And also, he's the kind of person who, if he says he'll help you, he will help you. And by help, by the way, I mean the Gato Move ChocoPro style of help.
Yeah.
Which is, oh, you don't know? It's okay. This is the path. Do your best.
So that was kind of your in, and we were actually going to bring up Gato Move in a few minutes. But, like when you came over, were you working with him in a certain promotion? Was it one in particular, or did you kind of float back and forth?
Yeah, but when I showed up, I just showed him a message because I didn't know anybody else. And he goes, oh, yes, what you're doing tomorrow at 11? I'm go, of course I'm free. I'm always free for you. And he goes, okay, show up to a training. I'm like, okay, they don't know I can wrestle. That's the big thing. They just know I'm some dude who showed up. They're like, can you wrestle? I'm like, yes. They don't know. I don't think we can even talk enough to each other that I can say I don't wrestle or I can wrestle. I don't say like I'm as a country, I'm probably the best from where I come from. But I can't say that because even I don't think I can wrestle. That's the problem. Because I haven't really wrestled with professionals. I don't think I've wrestled with professionals. I'm not in my mind, I'm not a professional yet. I genuinely, like, even though I have a promotion, I'm doing everything. I'm literally running the whole industry of a country. That's the reason I couldn't get it out of my head. When I got rejected to the visa for Japan, my clock stopped. The time in me stopped because I couldn't make myself believe that I'm a professional, and I wanted to do that. And the only place I can prove that I'm a professional is go to a place where there are professionals, hang with them, and then I can say, oh, my competition is professional, so I am too. And that's why I wanted to come to Japan. I came here, I talked to Master Takanashi, he called me to a practice, and by luck, the first practice he calls me to is Ami Sakura teaching a class in Gato Move.
Oh, nice.
Now that's what you call luck.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm lucky or unlucky because everything I think until now, I can't really say I'm lucky. Let's be honest. But when I think where I am right now, I have to be the luckiest dude in the world. But I don't really know. Like I have the shittiest luck and the best luck in like the same 8 years. I just have both of them. But I knew Ami Sakura because Ami Sakura had a promotion in Thailand. I've been trying to contact her for like 3 years. I just couldn't because, of course, Japanese English. The first person I met is Ami Sakura. It just blew my mind. I'm like, this is something. But I just trained with them, trained with other places, and I started doing a lot of independent shows because I just showed up here and I met new people, and they would go like, oh, so show up to this show, show up to this show. I started doing very indie shows, and I started doing Gato Move. And the more I did Gato Move and the more I did indie shows, I realized they are just better. Gato Move is just better at wrestling.
Yeah.
How much thought they put in, how much they want to get better, how creative they are, how that was the hardest wrestling to me. Any other place I could hang. I'm like, oh, they're wrestling. Of course, these guys beating the hell out of each other. Oh, that's fine. Let's just get in there. You can get in there. But Gato Move was creative. Gato Move was, they had movement. They had thoughts put into it. It was so hard to do a single match. But I was like, oh, this is the hardest wrestling I can imagine. And I go, that's where I'm going. So I started being very Gato Move heavy. If Gato Move collides with, like, scheduling is a big thing in Japan. So a company would say like, what you're doing, we have a show for you this Saturday. And I go, no, Gato Move is doing this Saturday. I can't take your show. And you don't do that. Let's be honest. If you are just showing up in an industry, you don't deny offers the first thing you do. So I started denying with, like, if there's a Gato Move show, I'm not taking any other show. And because of that, I started cutting myself off with most independent companies and doing more and more Gato Move. And just by just a process of elimination of why I wanted to come to Japan, I wanted to be better. That's why I come to Japan, and really just genuinely realized Gato Move was the hardest.
Yeah.
For me to wrestle.
So with that, it actually kind of made me think of something. Like, what is something that you saw different with Gato Move, or just like, different promotions that you kind of went to and experienced while you were in Japan? What set those apart from what you had done prior to coming to Japan? What was the biggest thing that you noticed was the difference?
How much thought went into every second of every match? How much processing power are we using? Let's just say, if I have to give an example, let's just say I'm playing a game, right? And I am playing that game on my PC. I can play that game. Let's just say the pixels might be a bit rough. There might be a lag here and there. There might be a bit of glitch, right? But I'm still playing the game. I'm still enjoying it. Now, it's the same game. My shooting is the same. It's not like I'm doing like something crazy. I'm still just running and playing Mario. That's all.
Yeah.
But now I have two specialized state-of-the-art PCs next to me, and I'm playing the game, same display, same remote control, everything the same. I'm playing the same game with it now. If I'm just somebody who's playing the game for the first time, I don't think I would even notice the difference between playing a game on a laptop, which is a Mac, let's just say MacBook 13, or playing on two specialized PC centers and just going crazy, the best state-of-the-art system I can find. But the thing is, I'm playing the same game, same movement, same shooting. But the processing going behind every movement is mountains apart, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't look much different
for it. I get it.
right?
I see it. Yeah.
Not too much in difference. What I'm doing is just running up ahead, jumping when there's an obstacle, and shooting when a goblin shows up or something, right? And it's not, nothing has changed. Even for somebody who's not a professional of gaming, it would look the same most of the time, right? But
Yeah.
the processing thing that's making that happen, how much is going in every second and every pixel of that screen, and how much is going in every bezel that's shooting across as a gun that kills that goblin, or every jump that's happening and the pixels changing, like the processing power going behind that is mountains apart. And I think that's the difference between most wrestling and Gato Move.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I could feel it. I could feel the
right?
intensity.
Like,
yeah,
yes,
just through your words.
Yes, that's that's the difference. And I think, speaking to what Jennifer asked, like me thinking WWE represents wrestling and you guys thinking New Japan represents Japanese wrestling, I think this will be very nice for you. Wrestling culture in Japan is very different. WWE superstars are superstars, especially before independent wrestlers started really getting into WWE, like before the El Generico, before Kevin Steen, and before, you know, all of the big names went to WWE. Before that, WWE was its own thing, almost like legacy wrestling, you could say, right? Like John Cena and The Rock aren't really wrestlers. Let's be honest. They are a superstar in their own, right? Like The Rock and Stone Cold is like a wrestling superstar to wrestlers. Forget about fans. Yeah. I'm pretty sure all independent wrestling mark out for The Rock the same way a wrestling fan would mark out for a Rock, because that's who he is. That's the only play. You have no connection with them. You see them the same way a wrestling fan sees them on your TV. That's all, right? It's not like you meet them at shows backstage and then they're just wrestling at a higher place. But in Japan, it's the same thing. It's just you're wrestling at a bigger company. That's all. So independent wrestler, the way they treat a New Japan wrestler is a senior.
Like the senpai kohai type relationship?
He's just a senpai.
Yeah.
But if you are in the industry for 20 years and there's a New Japan kid who's like 4 years in, he will say good morning to you because you're the senpai, not him. Just because he's in a New Japan doesn't just make him like something else in one day. No. He's just wrestling at a bigger place. His venues are bigger. That's all.
Gosh.
It's wrestling. It's all wrestling. And that's the biggest difference in Japan. That's why you don't see people so hungry in Japan to go to New Japan or to wrestle in New Japan or to be a champion in Japan. Because when you are, let's just say in Noah, or Noah is a big company as well, so that's not a good example. Let's just say in DDT or Big Japan. They don't want to go to New Japan most of the time because they are running their own company. They have their own fans. They have their own culture. They have their own ladder to climb. They don't need to jump to another ladder. It's just right? And so it's a business here. It's so crazy. A busy night in Japan, just in Tokyo, forget about Japan, just in Tokyo, has like 25 shows a night of wrestling, just in Tokyo.
So 25, any give just a weekend, or is that like one night?
It's a weekend. 10 shows is normal. So like having 10 shows on a weekday is normal.
Huh.
On New Year's Eve, I have seen close to 45 or something in that proximity, or 50 shows in one day, just in Tokyo. Now, imagine that in your head. There's 40 different venues, people going to those shows. That's how busy you get when you get busy.
That's crazy.
Right?
And I know on New Year's too, like kind of those fighting events are really big in Japan. Like I know they used to do what was it called, like the MMA or mixed martial arts type stuff, but I know wrestling too is pretty popular.
Oh yes,
on New Year's.
yes,
yeah.
Pride in before, now rising now for
moving
MMA.
Upward, trending upward.
Yeah, but like it's a very different culture. You are in the same business. Of course, there's levels to your business. Of course, they are at a higher place. Of course, they are making more money. Of course, they have more fans. And of course, you wanna, if you're an independent wrestler, you wanna get to more places where you would get more fans and you would be able to make more money and you would be able to show yourself to more people. That's the thing. It's not the thing about the promotion. It's just that who you are as a wrestler, and you wanna get more popularity. You wanna get more eyes on you. You wanna, like, as any talent would. Like if you're a singer, you don't want to change your band. You just want your band to be known to more people. Like, right? I think that is the best analogy I could give to you. Not like, it's not like you want to be the Beatles. No, the Beatles are the Beatles, or the any other famous band is their own band. You just want your band to do more bigger venues now instead of jumping bands.
Well, speaking of different Japanese wrestlers, the industry as a whole, I feel there's a lot of upcoming female talent through the variety of Joshi pro wrestling promotions.
Yes.
How has it been working with so many talented female wrestlers in Gato Move? Because I know you're really, really into like just being super supportive with them.
This might like betray your expectations a bit, but I don't really know Joshi wrestling too much. I really don't. Like,
really?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, the people are going to be so angry at me. I don't even know Stardom. The most Stardom I know is because May wrestled for them at Ryogoku. That's how I know most of Stardom. I don't like. I know like 5-6 people. So I don't know Joshi wrestling. When I was in Gato Move, I was like, I'm always wrestling outside as well. Of course, it's just that my heart is with Gato Move. Let's just say, and that's why it seems like I'm always with Gato Move. Same with ChocoPro. But I know the only Joshi wrestling I know is all of the Joshi wrestling that's connected to Ami Sakura and Gato Move and Mei Suruga. If that makes any sense.
No, it does.
It does.
Right? And
does.
like people say that to me very often, that I'm like, I support Joshi wrestling a lot. I don't, like, in my head, I don't think I'm doing that. I'm just supporting my friends. It's just that my friends happens to be female. That's like, if that makes any sense to
it
you
does.
in like, because speaking of Ami Sakura has been a very big part of who I am today, if that makes any sense to you. Ami Sakura has been, I've talked to her for an incredible amount of time. I've seen her, the way she carries herself. And Ami Sakura is a mad genius in wrestling. She is. And you don't know until you really wrestle her. Once you wrestle her, you go, oh, this woman is either crazy or a genius. And the line is very thin. There's one of those. But when you talk to her as a person, there's very few people who I know who are stronger as a person, as what makes them a person. Ami Sakura is strong, very like inspirational, you could say. And I don't like she's the strongest woman I know, but I don't have to say that, because she's the strongest person I know, as just who she is. Like, her being a female is just a thing. I know her because, like, I've talked to her about who I am. I've talked to her about how to be, like, what's necessary to be good. I've talked to her about what I have as qualities. I've talked to her about what my qualities are worth now, or do I need to get other qualities, or can I polish my own quality? Right? What does it mean to be a great wrestler? What do you need to be a great wrestler? Because it's not simple. It seems simple, but it's not. You might like it might be just like, oh, you just need to be a very good in-ring wrestler. But there's plenty of in-ring good wrestlers everywhere.
Right.
Not everybody is a superstar. How do you get there? Like, what is the path? What is your path? Because it's not one path. Like, not everybody can be at the highest of what pro wrestling can offer with the same path. Everybody has their own path. Of course, there's, let's just say, the prodigal son path. Of course, a big promotion gets you when you're young, builds you up, and gets you to a place where you can get in front of enough people that you can show who you are, and then they love you. Let's just say the prime example of that would be, because we're talking about Japan, let's just say Kazuchika Okada.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
The prime example. He's young, New Japan gets him, puts him in the spot, he performs. But that's hard because he is getting put in a spot and he has to perform, because if it doesn't go anywhere. So that's a very different kind of hardship.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, it's a lot of pressure, right? It's a lot of pressure on him to live up to the expectations, right?
Yes, you have to. But then there's another path, which would be like, let's just say, Kota Ibushi or Kenny or Kevin Steen or people like that. You make your craft, people support you, and the more people support you, the higher you go. The more people support you, the higher you go. But you have to have something for them to support you. What are they supporting? Where are they connecting to you? For Kenny, it was him being, which might be very new, but one of the biggest thing was, of course, he was a great wrestler, but he was like gaming. He was interested in animes and mangas, and people could connect with him. There's so many human part to him when he was in Japan.
Yeah,
there was so much more to him than being a in-ring wrestler. You have to find your own thing, because the way Kenny became famous, nobody else has become famous that way before. The way Ibushi did that, nobody else has done that before. Let's just say Shima from Dragon Gate, or let's just say who else? Sekimoto-san from Big Japan, or any big name independent wrestler anywhere. Or let's say the Bucks, the Young Bucks, or different from that is Adam Cole, or like, because I see him every week for the watching parties or Dynamite now. But like there's path, and I've talked to her for hours and hours about that, right? And I've tried to pick and unpuzzle that crazy mind, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I know her so much that anything that's connected to her in wrestling, I know. But I don't just in general know Joshi wrestling.
Like you said, she kind of takes everybody in, and the Gato move it cultivates a very supportive network, right?
Yes.
It feels that way. You can see that with what you see on screen. What happens in the ring.
Yeah.
And in the very unique ChocoPro ring, which is actually kind of where I was going next. I was going to ask you, with ChocoPro, it kind of came out of like COVID, right? COVID's happened. You had to shut down a lot of like live events, right? You had to do something. Yeah. And you were talking about creating your unique niche where you create your area to grow and to excel and do something that no one else has done. And I feel like ChocoPro is kind of taking that, it's really like it started out small, and it's just a YouTube like event happening here and there. And really, I mean, thanks to you and May and everyone on the promotion, really elevating it to this cult status online. It's so loved by its fans. So was it a big adjustment, for Gato Move? Because actually the where you do everything for ChocoPro and Gato Move that in Ichigaya, actually I used to go to Joji Dayaku at the Ichigaya campus. It's not too far. So I think when Emi Sakura was there, like kind of around that time, I remember seeing like she took a picture on like the bridge right outside of Ichigaya Station.
Yeah.
Is the McDonald's still there?
Yeah, McDonald's is still there.
So like,
how far that is from us? That's like 40 meters from where we wrestle. by the way.
Really? Yeah, because
Yeah.
when she took the picture, I was like, wait a second, that looks really familiar. And I mean, I know there's a lot of bridges in Tokyo and stuff, and a lot of little
But Ichigai
bridges,
Bridge is
but I'm like,
very, very familiar because there's an actual bridge and then there's an old school
yeah.
60s bridge which nobody uses anymore right next to it. So it's very recognizable.
So what I was getting with to ChocoPro though, like just I think that it's so different from what you watch in wrestling as a whole. And so like, what is your favorite part about being part of ChocoPro and the experiences you've had over the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think we can just get right into it. Like this is the best. This might tell you all you need to know about who she is. COVID hit, every wrestling stopped, every live show stopped.
Yeah.
Gato Move is not a big company. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of logistics, and they don't have even a big roster. And she goes, "There's no way they could have survived 6 months not being operated. They just can't. They don't have the kind of backing, or they didn't have the structure that would allow them to keep running without any income coming in for 6 months." And so she knows that Gatomu is going to die. And I don't think she says it, but she knows it. And she goes, "This is what I have, all of her life." And I'm going to use this word very carefully: savings, all of it. Got to move herself, everything connected. This is all she can have. And she says, the world is very dark right now. It's uncertain. It's uncertain for us. It's uncertain for the wrestlers who are under her. It's uncertain for the industry of wrestling and just in general, people. And she goes, because I remember talking to her and just being awestruck by what this woman was thinking. And she goes, there is no bright thing right now. All there is panic and fear and just doom and gloom. And she goes, I don't want to do Gato Move in this setting because that's not Gato Move. I can't do Gato Move because it will break everything that I've made for the last 8 years. Gato Move is fun. It's laughter. It's people coming together. It's a festival. It's people yelling and supporting young talent, just shining bright. That's what Ami Sakura wants, by the way. That's why she started wrestling. That's why she made a promotion, by the way. She says it very clearly in Japanese, but I don't think nobody can really translate. And she hadn't done that interview. But she says all she wants is to see young, beautiful, and just full with future, just girls shining bright. In Japanese, she says, 若い明るい未来しかない女の子たちが本当に輝いてほしいんだけです。That's how you say that in Japanese. But if I translate, it's a direct quote, and I've heard that at least like 20 times from her. But all she wanted, the reason she started a wrestling company, all she wanted, to this day, that's what she says. That's why Gato Move have no sponsors, by the way. They don't have a sponsor backing them. All it runs on is literal the people who love it. And she does that on purpose because it makes her life very hard. It's very easier to have sponsors.
Yeah.
It makes life very easy. But she never has that because all she wants, and she wants nothing to get in that way, or any business to get in the way of. What she wants is for girls to shine bright.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's all she wants. She says it like that's why she made Gato Move. That's why she made Gato Kunya. And that's why, even before, I don't think she would approve of it, but that's why she made Ice Ribbon, the company she started first. But she goes, I don't want to do Gato Move without any audience. Because some promotion were thinking about doing like live shows without people, like no fan shows and stuff like that. That became a thing. But that happened like 3 weeks, 1 month after. That's why I said like she might be a genius or crazy, is because Japan shut down on 23rd, I think.
Yeah.
The first show that got cancelled for us was 25th. That's the last show we did. And then it's like, oh, it's locked down now. And in 3 days, we were debuting ChocoPro. In just 3 days. The whole thing happened in 3 days.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's a really quick turnaround.
She booked Minoru Suzuki. Oh yeah, when she had something, there's no breaks in her. There is not. If something in her mind, that thing is happening. And then we'll deal with what happens afterwards. But she goes, I want to create a place that doesn't have COVID. That's all she wanted. I want to create a place where there's still smiles. I want to create a place where you can come and just not be in the pandemic for 1 hour. no matter where you are in the world. That's why we are free, by the way. That's why we are on YouTube, because YouTube is the easiest place to watch around the world. And the point of it is not to make money. The point of it is so that people can watch it as easier as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's grown like that too. I mean, you can kind of tell, like, it's just accessibility.
Yes, she goes, I'm of everything I have, I can keep it running for 5 months. She will pay every wrestler, but they have been before the pandemic, because she will keep doing shows and everybody would get paid, because if there's a show, she will keep the venue running and everything. Even if the world goes to shit, and that's my words, not hers. She doesn't have that potty mouth. But she says, even if the world doesn't continue the way it has before and nothing ever comes back, and we are just in this now, because there was a legit possibility and everybody was thinking that the world might go there. That was our fear. Everybody had that in their mind. I had it. She goes, I can keep it running for 5 months, and we're going to keep doing it for 5 months, even if nothing happens, even if nothing ever gets better. In 5 months, I will not be able to do it. But in this 5 months, we'll keep doing it, because that's all I have. I can keep it running for 5 months with every last penny she has. And she declares that to the whole team, by the way, not in her. Sits everybody down. That's what we're doing. We're gonna be YouTubers now. She says that, by the way. We're not a promotion. We're gonna be YouTubers now. But I can keep it running for 5 months, and we're gonna keep doing it. That's who Emi Sakura is. That's her instinct when the world went dark, is to give hope and light for 1 hour to as many people who are willing to watch it. And that's why what ChocoPro is what it is.
I mean, hey, that's really good adjusting for the circumstances. I think that's, I mean, that's the best y'all could have done.
Yeah, but like, she didn't self-preserve. She didn't go like, oh, let's shut everything down, and when things are normal, I will come back. Or let's get a sponsor, and then we will promote it on YouTube. Or let's do crowdfunding, or let's do something. No, just nothing. Just that I'll do anything I can for the people who I care about, and for anybody who's having a hard time, and just come and watch it. I want to give light, and that's her instinct, and that's who she genuinely is. But for myself, ChocoPro was a light, because ChocoPro had no form, because we didn't know what's going to be. And I grew as ChocoPro grew, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. It does.
And I was so busy. We were working so hard because we couldn't get any help, because we had to do everything ourselves. Especially because I was learning a lot, because I didn't know most of the things we do in ChocoPro now as normal, and they didn't know either. So it just came on me, because of I could do English and Japanese, to me, for doing most of the, let's just say, the technical work of it. But I think I matured 10 years in those two, genuinely. Like, for me to be the wrestler I am today, it would have taken 10 years to where I got into. I genuinely feel that way. I matured as a wrestler, as a talent, at least 10 years worth of experience in just two.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it genuinely is.
But it's such a unique outlet for folks to watch wrestling. You know, it's just a fun environment, and you can tell the people who are in the matches are having fun. Yes. You know, you could just feel it coming through the screen. You feel it in the match, the passion in there, and it's wonderful. I enjoy it. I can't watch every single one, but I do.
Of course. We had too many. You are not to blame. We have 10 shows a month sometimes. It's crazy.
Oh, geez, yeah. But yeah, no. So real quick, last question, because I hate to cut you off, but we're having so much fun. But yeah, I had one more question for you. It's probably a doozy, but I'm asking anyway.
Go ahead.
What was your favorite or most memorable match that you had wrestling in Japan?
You stumped him.
No, this like saying one is hard.
Right. Then I was kind of going to say, like, if you have like maybe 2 or 3.
I'm a different person, or a different wrestler, you could say, from where I was before, like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Because
fair enough, yeah.
I don't think you know, but I wrestled in Japan for 1.5 years, and then I left Japan for 8 months for UK. And when I came back on 19th of March 2020.
Oh, and just before.
Wow. Oh yes. Wow. I was so lucky.
Lucky. By the way, there you go. Lucky again.
By the way, India locked down 32 hours after I flew.
Oh my gosh.
The day I put my visa application in the embassy, starting the next day, they stopped doing any visas.
Ooh.
Like you were saying, man, you said you weren't lucky. I mean, you've kind of shown us so many
Yes,
just
I
things
feel like
worked
the
out.
luckiest man alive. I genuinely do. While feeling like it's hard, it seems unfair to say I'm lucky, but still, it just hard to put in words. But
Yeah.
like, so before that, I actually wrestled. My last match, a singles match I wrestled Masa Takanashi in God of Move in the Chocolate Square, in the Chocolate
Yeah.
Square show right before I left. That match was something. It was something for me, if that makes sense. It wasn't
No, it
something
does.
for the audience. It wasn't a product that I'm putting out and proud of, if that makes sense. I'm not wrestling for the audience in that match. I'm not wrestling for the people who are watching. I'm wrestling for me. I'm leaving and I'm gonna wrestle with this man who I think is one of the best in the world, put hold to hold. I wanna bring the fight to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna get him tired. I want him to feel pain. I wanna wrestle him my heart out and bring him or bring myself to his level and really go at it. Let's just wrestle. And we did that, and I was very happy about that match because I was content with myself. But I wasn't a wrestler of a caliber that had enough in me that I could do my own content and then have extra left to think how it looked to the fans,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. I
No, it
didn't
does.
have enough capacity that I could satisfy myself, my opponent, and the people who are watching as a product as a whole. Now, after once ChocoPro started, and of course, May Surga, my best friend right now, love her to death. Um, Fight with her a lot, but still. I wrestled many matches in ChocoPro. I wrestled Minoru Suzuki, I wrestled Tanaka, I wrestled Mei Suruga only once, very early on. And then I started wrestling Minoru Fujita for ChocoPro 100 and 200, the title matches. But I think the match I performed the most in, if that makes sense, and the match that made the people around me realize, oh, he's a different thing now. Like, oh, we didn't know you were this now, if that makes any sense. That was the match at ChocoPro 100. I wrestled Minoru Fujita for a single match for the main event of that show.
Mhm.
And I think most people who saw that woke up to me. I wasn't in their consciousness before that match. And I think that match woke them up to me. Like, I think that, and I had enough capacity at this point that I know how that match was for Minoru Fujita. I know how that match was for me. And I know how that match was for the people who are watching it in the venue. I mean, Sakura, Meisuruga, Mas Takanashi, all those people, my
Mhm.
friends, the people, my rivals, you could say, and how it was for the fans. And I think I had, of course, I had the second match with him, and I had an incredible match with Ami Sakura afterwards. But I think that match is a momentous match for me because that match woke everybody up to me, to who Baliyan Akki is. Oh, he is this now. And I think that match genuinely has that. That because I remember May being angry with me because I was so good. Like I if that make that's by the way my relation with May. In one sentence, I remember fighting with her because she was legit angry at me, like almost like pissed off, like almost like disgusted because I was good. If that makes any sense, because she was like, "What? Like what did you do out there? Like how can you bring those things out? I didn't know that you had that. Like, what was that?" And I remember talking to Ami Sakura and she saying the same thing, like, so that's who you are. She actually genuinely
Rising
said that to me.
star.
Yeah,
Rising star.
but like they didn't know me as a performer, who I am as a performer. I really performed in that match. So Ami Sakura, I remember saying it to me, saying her saying to me like, "Oh, that's who you are. Okay, now I know." Now I know where like what you can do when like as a performer. What's your niche? What do you have that most people might not have? What's your thing? What can you do? Like, oh, you can do this. Okay. And I think that match, if I have to say one match that really woke kind of that made me more than a wrestler.
Yeah.
I think that's the match that made me more than a good wrestler.
That's
And
great. And which show was that again?
it is ChocoPro 100. It
100.
is
Okay.
100, 28 of March 2021.
Okay.
Day 2 main event, I think.
We
had
will
2 shows
definitely make sure we highlight that when we.
Oh yeah, please do.
When we put this out there. Yeah.
It is
so if you're listening, go check it out. If you haven't, I'm sure some of the people listening probably already have seen it, but if you haven't,
yeah. Oh yes, please.
Yeah. Well, before we go, because I don't want to hold you up too much longer. And we appreciate the time you've given to us already. It's been so much fun, like hearing about your journey and hearing about ChocoPro, hearing about Gato Move, hearing about you finding the right place in India, like to get to where you wanted to go, to set up your own promotion and everything. It was so much fun hearing your story. Before we leave and end our interview, I want to give you an opportunity to, let people know where they can find you on social media or on your YouTube channel for ChocoPro, Gato Move, etc.
It's mostly Baliyan Akki. It's quite a unique name. It's hard to find other people named Baliyan Akki. But if you go, I think my handle on both on Instagram and on Twitter is Baliyan Akki. If you search that, I would show up right away. If there's one thing that I want you to do, it would be check out ChocoPro if you have not. If you have, I would like to tell you that it's a no paywall promotion, which literally means there's no wall between you and us that you need to do anything. All you need to do is click once for YouTube and click twice for us. You can watch it anytime, anywhere. It's a mood maker. We have one of the most brutal matches, emotional. You will cry, you will laugh, because we cry and we laugh, and you would just have a general merry-go-round kind of time if you want to. I genuinely believe it has all aspects of the emotional range, if I find, because I've had some tough times there and I have some really great times there. But if you just want to have a general open mind and you want to enjoy something, especially with somebody, I think ChocoPro is way better when you watch it with somebody. All you need to do is click twice and you are watching us. There is no wall. If you can help us out, we would appreciate it, because that's the only thing we survive on. But when we say support us, we mean everything. You can like, you can leave a comment, you can share, tell a friend, he will watch it now, share it on Twitter or Instagram, anything, literally anything you can do that does not take your time or doesn't put any strain on you. We consider it help. So if you can, please do that as well. And of course, we are like 90 people away from 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, which, by the way, I think is a crime against all thing good in the world that we have like on YouTube 20,000 for like subscribers. In my head we should have like 100,000 by now, but I don't know why. So if you have not subscribed, please do go subscribe right now. It's a fantastic place. You can have some really good fun times there. Thank you.
That's awesome. Jenn, you gonna go subscribe?
Yes, and we'll make sure we have all of those links in our show notes for you.
Yep. We'll put that out there and we'll let people know. So that way, we want to help you guys, because you guys have done so much in promoting yourselves and putting so much heart and soul into your product, and it's fantastic. And I think the world really needs to know more and more about it. So keep up doing the great work that you do.
Yes.
Keep on fighting, man. I mean, you're doing such a great job. Again, you hear the passion in your voice, just you talking about it, and it's inspirational in that regard.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I appreciate you say that. Thank you very much for bringing me on the platform. It's been really nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's been great talking with you.
And that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. A special thank you to Gato Move Pro Wrestling's Baliyan Akki for taking the time to sit down with us and share his wonderful story about how he made his dreams become reality. You can really feel Aki's passion come through his words, and hearing that pure joy in doing something you love to do in a place you want to be, that itself never gets old. Hopefully, with today's conversation, your interest may be a little more piqued with regards to Japanese pro wrestling, specifically Gato Move and ChocoPro. As Akki said, you can check him out on YouTube whenever you get a second, whenever you have time. It'll only take a couple clicks. We'll make it easy for you. Check out our link tree and this episode summary for quick access. And while you're at it, don't forget to follow Akki on Instagram and Twitter at @Baliyan Akki, BALIYANXAKKI. to see some great highlights and to see what's going on in his life. Do you have a favorite ChocoPro match or wrestler? Share it with us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Krewe of Japan Podcast. That's @KreweofJapan Instagram. Facebook's just Krewe of Japan Podcast. And Twitter @KreweofJapan. No TikTok, don't worry about that. No Snapchat. While you're there, give us a like, follow, retweet, share, comment, anything. Let us know how you're enjoying the podcast. Or perhaps maybe you want to send an email because you prefer a more private means of communication. You can hit us up at kreweofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. KreweofJapanPodcast@gmail.com. Speaking of feedback, if you are enjoying this episode, or last week's episode, or the one before that, or the one before that, or the seasons before this, please feel free to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast streaming app. I'm trying to get that rating game up, y'all. Come on. But seriously, any and all support is incredibly appreciated and always welcome. Anyway, that's it for today. See you next week.